Let's take a look at the collar pieces here. First, there are two collars. The collars are drawn on both sides. You can mark the front and back positions yourself. Then over here, I have two pieces of fabric. Wait until the sewing is finished on the top and then come back. Then both sleeves are made normally. 5mm seam. The lower part of the outer and ceremonial colored pieces are all the same. And the design is also the normal 5mm design. The upper part of the front and back pieces of the watch, their colored ceremonial are also all normal 5mm style. There is also a section for the door threshold strip. Also follows the standard specification. Let's first address the access control strip. The edges of the access control strip have a standard 5mm seam. Then we will take the seams at both sides of the wall, fold and iron them inward from the back. Once ironed, the seam will be visible on the reverse side. This part is set aside. Here we will handle the sleeve section. First, fold the bottom edge inward to the inside. Then we will sew a line on the front to keep it in place. If you prefer to sew with a wider stitch, you can also sew a little wider. However, it is not advisable because regarding this sleeve,
this size,
this sleeve is just a short piece. After taking it off, we place the reverse
line
side
on the back
facing up.
side.
Regarding this line,
it is marked on our sleeve.
This location. You should use the same location.
Just draw this line.
The position of this line corresponds to the position of the elastic band. The elastic band.
Let's first prepare the gathering line above.
Here I'm using a double line for gathering. On both sides of this style line, remove a gathering line 2mm from each side. Do not backstitch at the front. Slightly widen the stitch distance. I used a stitch distance of 3.5 here. The thread ends on both sides should be left after pulling out the gathering thread. Don't rush to gather. Let's first attach this elastic band. We need to be careful when attaching the elastic band on both sides. Position within this style line. When withdrawing, you can place the elastic band a bit forward. But this point where the needle is lowered
must be within this style line,
including the ending point as well. We align the elastic band.
Cover the line you just drew.
When taking it off, place the elastic band. Don't place it exactly at the point where we need to sew. This is because the elastic band might come loose
at the
later.
Point where we need to stitch.
Let's first secure a few stitches back and we will sew while adjusting this elastic
to its
band.
Tightest point.
Move back in this manner. Withdraw to the final position where we finish. The injection point. This is also located within the style line. Next, we will trim the excess elastic band. You can also see that it has not been moved beyond this style line. The other end is the same as well. This should not be taken outside. The main reason is, later, these two positions are to be withdrawn together. If the elastic band's position is outside, this position will be thicker. After applying the elastic, you can draw the folds out. At the same time, tighten both the folds out. Set it aside after folding. Use the same method to create another sleeve. Here we will measure the Peter Pan collar. For the Peter Pan collar, we place the two pieces of fabric. Do not sew the inner circle. Each other. Then we will sew the outer circle. The starting and ending points when sewing. Extend a seam outward by 5mm. Pay attention that the collar is marked. Don't get it wrong. Both sides. After measuring correctly, we will cut the collar. Leave a 5mm seam allowance on this unsewn edge. We use pinking shears to trim the stitched areas. If you don't have pinking shears, use regular scissors to cut the edges. After trimming, just flip it over. After flipping it over, use an iron to smooth it out. If you like to mark the seam allowance, you can directly trace along the edge. If you don't want to measure the guideline, just iron it flat. By the way, remember, we're on the front side.
Also mark this shallow spot.
This way it won't be confusing later.
Finally, we'll align the collar pattern with its edge. Mark the stitch line on the front side.
This will make it easier for us to sew. Once drawn, the two collars can be set aside.
Here, we will splice the intersection.
The splicing methods for the inner and outer parts, just that we're referring to, we will also add an access control strip. We'll discuss adding the access control strip separately. Here we will first join the front and back pieces of the upper lining. Sew the pointed seam where the front sides meet. Alternatively, you can first prepare the upper part after it is joined with the lower part. Then proceed to sew the pointed seam. This can be done based on your own preferences or habits. Next, we will unfold the front and back pieces. Separate the location of the sharp seam. Use your nails to scratch it or smooth it out gently. We'll work on the lower part of the inner front and back pieces. Here we have one front piece and two back pieces. We are at this position on top of it. Let's measure the pleat line. The gathering line distance here is set to 3. Do not backstitch at the front and leave back. The thread ends a bit longer. Here we have a double line at the position 2 millimeters to the left and gather each gathering line. Then let's pay attention to, for example, the front piece.
The sides of the front piece have a small arc.
We won't be gathering at this position. We will soon connect this position with the armhole of the upper part will be stitched together. We only gather at the straight line position, including the back piece as well.
The back piece has one side with this curve.
Anyway, we just need to remember to fold only at this straight line. When you sew this fold line, it doesn't matter when you reach that position.
When we join it with the upper part later,
we need to pay attention to certain details. Be careful not to sew into the curved area. After completing the gathering, tighten both baselines simultaneously.
Take all these folds out.
After taking them out, organize everything. First, join the upper and lower parts of the front piece here. So regarding the lower part, we need to ensure that this position has the same length as the upper part. It's still not long enough on my side. We need to make a few more adjustments to it. Focus on this lower part. We're just looking at the length of this straight line, the area where there's curvature on both sides. We shouldn't rely on that to help everyone understand. Let me add a picture here. Once everyone has finished folding, we will sew them together like this, face to face. When the upper and lower parts are stitched together, these positions must be aligned. I will draw connections at these positions. Okay, take a look for yourself. If you still don't understand, feel free to ask. Next, we will connect the bottom edge of the upper part with the lower part. The position of this top straight line is aligned and sewn together. Once it's well drawn, let's take a look at it from both sides. It will connect to create the arc of a sleeve. Confirm that there are no issues. Let's sew it together in the same way again. The upper and lower parts of this back piece. Both are sewn together with the right lower part of the back.
One side is straight.
The straight part is the position of the opening. It needs to align with this position. It should also match the straight position. Continue stitching the upper and lower parts of the other back. It is also stitched with the front sides facing each other. And back pieces are fully stitched together. This is how it looks. The positions of the armholes are aligned with each other. The position of the opening in the back is also the upper and lower sections. Confirm that there are no issues.
Remove all of the pleated lines. Then on the front side of the 3 seams we just made,
sew a visible line. While sewing the visible line, the seam at the bottom is directed towards the neckline. The inside is now properly stitched. Once it is stitched together,
you can now work on the armhole area.
I use the one that is ready after being pressed. Method for flipping it over.
If you want to use this method,
just process it directly at this step. After processing, it looks like this. From the front, both sides in this position are already clean.
The back looks like this.
And this part is set aside. Here, let's take a look at the lower half. Because after we stitch this front piece of the fabric together, we need to add a doorway strip at the middle position. So we need to establish its position first in the middle. That is, according to the same position at the beginning when drawing, you need to after finishing the drawing, make sure there are no pleats between these 2 lines. The upper and lower parts should be drawn correctly after creating the pleats. Review it. The center's position should be aligned vertically. After confirming the alignment, we will sew it face to face. Additionally, the sewing method for the outer fabric, in fact, they are all the same. However, I first sewed the pointed seam in the lining. Next, we'll join the upper and lower parts. For the fabric here, I first join the upper and lower parts. Then sew. It's just that the order has been switched. The process is the same. Once the fabric is joined, it looks like this. The 2 lines in the middle should align up. Confirm there are no issues and remove the gathering thread. Then we will measure the marking line at this front position. When measuring the marking line, the seam below should face the left side. This marking line is measured on the upper part of this fabric. After measuring the position of the armholes, it may have an extra pointed corner for stitching.
You can trim it off.
Next, take out the door strip we ironed earlier. Place the cleaner side of the door strip facing up. We fix the seams on both sides directly at this center position. I have made the door strip slightly longer. This way, the start and end will extend outward a bit. It will be easier to stretch. Once the seams are fixed, simply trim off the excess. Next, the remaining part of the outer fabric. Use the same method to stitch it as with the lining. The difference between the outer fabric and the lining lies one has this part, while the additionally, the armhole position in the lining has already been finished. The fabric is unprocessed. We will attach the sleeves shortly. Here we're going to attach the collar. Before attaching the collar, let's confirm this position first. First, this is the center position of the front placket. Make a marking point. Then, the position of the opening on the back of there is a marked point on our drawing. Please mark it in the same location. When putting on the collar, align it with the marked points at the back and the marked point at the center. Make sure to distinguish between the front and back of the collar. The fabric at the bottom and the collar on top
are all facing upward.
We directly sew along the marked points and the seams. After sewing, we take out the prepared ceremonial fabric. The ceremonial fabric faces the right side upward from the position of the sew around the collar. Sew down at the back opening on the other side. When sewing, we place the main fabric on the top layer. Try to use the main fabric as the reference. After sewing, trim to create seams. Sew at the position of the two top right angles. Trim it diagonally like this. Use lace scissors to trim. If you don't have lace scissors, use regular scissors to make some snips. Be careful when using the lace scissors. Don't use too much force. You might cut through the fabric itself. If you're not confident, use regular scissors to make the cut. Now we have the ceremonial fabric on top. The tablecloth is positioned underneath. Set the decorative cloth aside for now.
Reveal the sleeve area of the tablecloth.
We have already arranged the pleats on the front sleeve. Here we will make some adjustments to this pleat. The size of this position needs to be adjusted to match the position of the sleeve below, because we need to sew them together. You can make some adjustments first, then take a rough comparison. If it feels too little or too much, then make adjustments based on the actual situation. After making the adjustments, we will sew it together. Sew along the vertical lines. Be mindful of the curve of the sleeve cap.
It's different.
The sleeve, so we need to adjust this curve while measuring the seam. After assembling the sleeve, turn to the front. It looks like this. Once confirmed there are no issues, then we repeat the steps. Attach the sleeve in this position on the other side. Also secure it properly. After finishing the two sleeves, we will now join these two positions on the inside. The other side also connects these two positions together. Here, we are stitching them together with the fronts facing each other, following the sewing line. After measuring, we then join the same positions on the outside. In this position, there's also a sleeve that connects here. At the same time, sew the side seam of this sleeve. After measuring, take measurements on the other side. The same position. So sew them together with the front sides facing each other. After measuring, make a few notches on the seams at both underarm areas.
Then we pull apart this bottom edge.
Align the bottom edge of the outer layer with the bottom edge of the inner layer. Directly measure the seam along the entire bottom edge. During the measuring process, we encountered this sewing issue. It should be separated to both sides and aligned vertically. Here, the outer layer and inner layer are also sewn together. After measuring, trim this seam at an angle at the right angle positions on both ends. Then use hemostatic forceps to enter from the armhole inside. Turn the entire garment inside out. After turning it right side out, tidy it up and iron it yourself. Sisters who like to measure visible stitching can measure the whole circle. The visible thread above is measured at the position just below the collar. If you feel the visible thread isn't measured, you can also directly iron it flat. Also, for the collar part, remember to fold it like this and iron it. Finally, install a hidden button or Velcro. You can sew a small button decoration.
This top is ready. Here we discuss the pumpkin pants we've created. However, the pumpkin pants shown in our main video have a flat top. This pumpkin pants is designed lower in the front, however, higher in the back. The method of making it is the same as shown in the main video. This includes leaving a 1 centimeter seam allowance at the waist. Leave a 1 centimeter seam along the bottom edge. If you prefer a smaller seam, leaving a 7 millimeter one, you can adjust it based on your own Here I left a 1 centimeter seam. Mainly discusses how to fold the waistline for a better Because it has curves, it's not as easy to fold as a straight in our one. Steps, we need to bend at the waist. First, you need to properly sew the front crotch area. Just sew the 2 front pieces together at the crotch. Make a small cut at the curved area. Then we will separate this seam at this position to the side. Use the iron to fold and press simultaneously. Because if you fold it directly, it might not turn out well. Fold and press at the same time like this crease will come out easily. The position will also be more standardized. The crease position looks like this after we finish the heat sealing. Inward. Measure this channel at 4 or 5 millimeters. Just thread this strap through. Here we will make pumpkin pants. For pumpkin pants, the positions of the waistband and cuffs leave a 1 centimeter seam allowance. Then our pumpkin pants are cut into 2 pieces. Left and right. We will place them right sides together. First, sew the position of the front tip. That is the side marked as front on our drawing. Once the car is ready, we'll make a few notches in the curved areas. Then we will shape the waistband area. Fold it towards the back side. Here we need to add elastic bands, so the position of the stitching here is important. For example, I am using a 3 millimeter elastic band that is 1 to 5 if you want to use a wider elastic band. Just add a little more. When sewing, the fabric in the middle splits to both sides. This entire edge is folded in. And also the positions of the 2 pants. The fabric here is the same too. Fold it inward and then relax the tension of the thread. I've completed sewing all 3 positions. This is how it looks after sewing. The pants waistband has been sewn The 2 positions at the bottom of the pants have also been sewn inward. Next, we use this tool to thread it through this channel. Then we hook the elastic band in. Then we sew a few stitches at this end to secure it. I have provided reference dimensions for this elastic band on the drawing. If you have already cut it, we'll follow the cut pieces. Just secure both ends of the elastic band. Then let's pay attention to this seam. We'll sew it outside the design line. Also at the position of 1 pant leg, we all use this method to thread the elastic band. After everything is threaded, it looks like this. Then we place these 2 colored pieces face to face. Sew at the thick areas, that is, the thick side marked on the drawing.
After sewing, we also make a few notches in the curved areas. After making the notches, we pull this part open. The design in the middle splits to both sides. The location for sewing the crotch. After sewing, we make a few notches in the center. After cutting the buttons and flipping it over,
our pumpkin pants
tidy
are
it
done.
up a bit.